Welcome guys, welcome to part 2 of this stream about building the Anet A8 printer, this printer right here in front of me. And I don't have it on or operational right now, and that is because I want to have it for reference while I build the rest of this. The core of this stream will be about the construction. That first stream was a lot of paper peeling and stuff, and you couldn't really get a look at what I was doing. So I haven't assembled too much stuff here, so a lot of the core instruction will be in this stream. Let me bring up the comments really quick so I can see what you guys are saying. Thanks for checking it out if you're here. I always enjoy having the company of you guys. There we go. If only I could read the comments right in front of my face. All right, great. Hey, and Will's here today too. He's been really busy with Boogeyman Pop the last few weeks, and so it's awesome to have him stop by and chat and stuff when he can. Cool. So without much delay, I'm going to get into the construction, because this thing's actually going to take me a while, and my phone battery won't last forever, and I'm going to have to plug it in. I've got an extension cord plug here, so that'll be a little awkward. Well, I should probably just plug it in now. Why not? Anyway, so what I've already done here is I've peeled the paper off of all of the pieces of plastic. Each of these black acrylic pieces of plastic came with a little bit of brown paper on it, and I went through and peeled all of that. You can leave it on, but it looks really nice and professional with this glossy black look. And so I peeled all the paper, and the basic first steps were assembling the frame, and then attaching the Y motor, stepper motor, to this back frame component. And one important thing that I didn't find a lot of information on, I have the plug sticking outward towards where the printer bed slides back and forth, and that kind of makes everything plugging in. I've got my printer over here, the finished one, and so it's going to be really useful to be able to look and see. Well, I can't. Oh, there we go. I see why. Look and see how things look when it's all finished up, and that's going to be important here. This step can get pretty complicated with all of these things that you have to plug in. Yeah, so I'm going to try and tackle all of that today, and so I need to sort of get into it. The step I'm at right now is placing these bearings onto these bearing rods, and they come in these little packages like this. And thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm getting this 3D printer. If you're here looking for Spider-Man stuff, I'm getting this extra 3D printer finished here, and I'm pretty excited to get started printing face shells. I want to have a wearable face shell printed in the next week or two, I'd say, because I need to get that sort of out there. And as soon as I do, you guys will be able to do this. You'll be able to build your own printers and then print them yourselves. And it won't be a big, long wait. Hey, Flubdub and Lego Cool Man. You guys always are viewing the streams. I appreciate that. Well, not always, but I appreciate when you do view. Also, I don't know how many people watching are Rick and Morty fans. I'm a big fan of Rick and Morty. But then a new virtual reality video game came out. I know a lot of people, there are not a ton of people who have virtual reality stuff for it, so I might do a live stream of that. Might even let Will play it, because I've already played through it. Right now I'm adding WD-40. This is silicone-based WD-40, so it's a little bit more reliable than standard WD-40, I think. So I've always thought silicone lubricant was a little higher grade, and so I'm adding that right now because I just want to get the entire inner surface just coated already, because I have to spray those bearings pretty frequently because they move around constantly, and these bearing rods just kind of attract dust. Well, not attract it, but they inevitably get dust on them, and so you have to lubricate it pretty frequently because that stuff gets in there and gunks it up, and you can hear it after several days of printing. So I'm going to lubricate it from the start here. Hey, Flubdub, yeah, I mean, my streams haven't been, it's kind of been an off week, sort of, but I've still streamed, I've still done, like, building stuff, but I've just had some other things that I've needed to work on, like face shells and stuff, yeah, so I'm here getting this done so that I can move on to the 3D printable version of the face shells, and then also the moving lenses, because, I mean, that's coming up soon, too. When that happens, that's kind of just going to, I think, change the whole nature of the stream. So I'm excited. to kind of just let that one roll out pretty soon here. Okay, so I've put the lubrication onto these bearing. It's a little bit better, but it still doesn't sound great. I mean, this is probably one of my biggest complaints. They're not the highest quality bearings that you get in this kit, but it still works. It still does its job. Yeah, I honestly don't know if it's supposed to sound smoother than that, or how much smoother than that it's supposed to sound, or, that could be how it's supposed to sound, but I doubt it. Okay, I'm gonna bring back my instructions here on my computer. Perfect. Okay, so looks like I need M318 screws. M318, that's these guys. And I keep the bag just in the cup with the screws. I'm gonna need 4. Wait, is this the right? 318? Yeah, it's a pretty long screw for this. Basically, these screws go into this. Oh yeah, that's why it doesn't have the spacer yet. And then basically all of the bolts, or the nuts, sorry, all of the nuts are pretty similar size. So you just get a large container of nuts and then a few different lengths of bolts and kind of different varieties of bolts. Grab my little cat pieces. This is where it's kind of like a Lego set, because what keeps this pole in place, oops, phone's falling. That's funny. What keeps this in place and not, just sliding out and in and out there is kind of like this little Lego piece that just goes on the end there and caps it in place. And you just put this bolt through, put the nut on there. I'll use the screwdriver, why not? Ugh. I don't know why that's fighting me. This looks like a job for a miniature crescent wrench. Lego Cool Man, what is a fidget spinner? I think that answers your question. Are you talking about a screwdriver where you can twist it and spin it faster? Because I do have some of those. I'll use that later probably. I mean, is this right? Why is this fighting me so much? Maybe I'm using the wrong one. M3 and M318. It's weird. Rarely ever fights this hard. I mean, it should just kind of guide in there easily. That's always how it's done it before. Maybe that nut is bad. Or it could be this bolt. They give you a lot of extra of the hardware, which I like, because you can use some of it in the accessories that you print. So maybe it's this bolt. Or maybe I'm taking crazy pills here. There we go. No crazy pills. It was that bolt. Oh, I don't, was it this one? I think it was. Oh, now it works. Maybe it wasn't that one. Oh, it's this guy. What a jerk. Must just be a bad bolt or something. I could still keep it. It'd be useful for something else, like a component in 3D printing. Okay, so got that started. Back to where I was doing. Just want a solid cap there. I guess there's really no risk of this acrylic like snapping or anything under high. I mean, I'm sure you could tighten it to the point where it snapped, but they don't tell you to put like washers on or anything like that. So I imagine it must be pretty solid. This is another thing that people will 3D print is this whole front part, because you don't have the ability to adjust the tension on the belt right here. You basically just have to attach the belt really tight and just hope it is, tight forever. And then you can sometimes go in there and adjust it, like when you take the bed off. But some people have a piece here that allows them to kind of adjust the tension. I've never messed with it or anything. Is this a bad one too? Weird. There we go. Maybe that's a bad nut. Find out. Nope. Weird. Oh, okay. Whatever. Can you put that together? Oh, it's already on there. There's my air conditioner. Enjoy the sound of that. Can't let it get too hot in here. All right, so time to work on the back. Get the same thing going. It's also important that I have to adjust the size of where the nuts are on this all thread, because that's kind of determined by where these end caps. You want your two bars to be really solid in there, so you have to kind of like pin them in there with these nuts on the all thread. Probably be doing a lot of that. Yeah, this is definitely a low-key stream today, but it's chock full of good information if you're putting together one of these printers. I'll try to keep it, to the basics as far as getting it done. Oh, slipping out again. My phone likes to shimmy over. Get in there. Oops. This is neat. I'm so glad I have a chronicle of building something with my hands. Someday I bet I'll enjoy looking back at this. I'd be glad I did this. I don't know why these ones aren't going together now. I'm just having failure on these bolts. What the heck? Oh, it has to fight, but eventually gets on there. Well, apparently these bolts randomly are lower quality in the last 2 days. Darn it. Need like tweezers. You'll do. out of there. Whatever. Oh, geez. Camera really likes to slip out. Ugh, stop fighting me. There we go. But the big problem is this cable I have charging my phone. I bet I'll take that out. I'll put it in if I need to charge my phone. How about that? I think that'll keep the phone from dancing out. All right, got that one done. Let's do this one a little faster. Hey, Oliver. Shout out to Oliver. Thanks for tuning in. What are you guys up to? Are you working on anything? I'm working on a 3D printer, as you can see. Come on, okay. Checking this time to make sure that the bolt and the nut work. All right. Would be nice if the 3D printer was printing something. I do like the sound of that. It's relaxing if you're not trying to sleep. Or watch a TV show or a movie or something. All right. I also didn't put the end caps here yet, so I'll do that. Okay. Come on. You can do it, Bolt. I believe in you. Or nut. Come on. Ugh, it's tough. Is this a bad nut or something? All right, come on. Yeah, once again, I think in combination with the last stream, we'll just sort of do a time lapse of this because it is not the most interesting stream I've done for sure. But it's full of information on this printer. What the deal is here? Just a bad bolt or nut. If you've been watching this stream, I've confused those two probably 30 times already. Okay. Oi, what is the deal? I know I put all these nuts on there. Maybe the end of this all thread isn't cut well. Oh well, get that far and we'll use. Jeez. Good nothing to grasp. This is crazy. Didn't have this problem last time. There we go. Come on. There we go. I wonder what the heck that was. All right, gotta make it, like I was saying earlier, gotta make sure everything is, all like compressed. This part might be holding it up a little bit. I don't want to tighten these until the end. Okay, so start tightening these. Sometimes I look at things with my head tilted. I think that's what keeps making my phone slip out. Need to just keep my head straight up. All right. So this is where I get to tighten it and make sure that these poles are just really tightened into the frame. And, as I tighten this, I can only tighten it so far because I'll start to deform the shape, which is already kind of happening. But you do want it to be solid. All right, time to tighten all this. I hope. I might have skipped a step. I should have checked my instructions here. Because all I was supposed to do was put these poles in. And it's probably fine that I tightened all of that. Yeah, because I'm already moving on to the step of assembling this build plate over here. I'll attach this, and if you're wondering about the direction of the plug, I have my plug going off the back because it's obviously just a little more clean that way. I think I've seen people do it the other way. I don't know though. Cool. So continue to tighten these things. This is basically the base structure, so you want it as solid as possible. But again, you don't want to start deforming the shape of the frame by over tightening it on one side. There we go. Kind of went too far on that last one. Oy, this one's hard to get to. I have thinner pliers, that's for sure. Or I could use my baby vice grips. Or not vice grips. Gosh, I forget. Crescent wrench, that's right. There we go. Probably would have been easier to tighten these without the bars in there, but Kind of need them. I guess you could have tightened the back, all of the back and the middle first before putting the bars in, and then tighten the front. All right, that's pretty solid already. I just shook the phone more than anything. But yeah, you want a really sturdy frame because there's a lot of moving components that shift back and forth really very quick. Lego, cool man, shout out to you. I thought I already did shout out to you. But hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Awesome. Okay, so next step is this bottom component. I think what I'm doing here is I'm taking this frame piece they sent me, which is like one of those fun metal things where it's not actually blue. It's metal. It's just that tint that's on it. I don't even know if you need to take this off. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Lego cool, man. That's exactly why I'm doing this. Because a lot of times with 3D printing, especially if you're doing something larger, you have to print in multiple parts. And that can take, each part can take a long time. Each part can take a day or two just in itself. Because you're usually building the largest part you can in the print bed. And so that can take like a full day to print usually. And so you can be really limited if whatever you're designing is going to have to be split up into 10 parts, and each part takes a day to print. That's a couple weeks of almost 2 weeks of printing there. And so if you have a second printer, that time gets cut in half right away. And I have a lot of things coming up here with 3D printing, with the shell designs, and then also some other projects that I'm working on. And I just love this thing. I love the 3D printer so much. I love being able to design a project one night and then start printing it the next day and then have it done printing in about a week, and then I can just start doing all the refining process. Like it's like a cheat code. Just get to skip to the end where you refine it and it looks like perfect and nice. So I've kind of converted to that mindset that is just so awesome. And then also with photogrammetry, you can, and also just basic 3D scanning, because that's what photogrammetry is. With photogrammetry, you can still sculpt things. Like that's how I got the shape of my face shell into the computer, because I'd basically have to sculpt it in the computer if I didn't do that. Okay, so it looks like this is how it sits on there. It sits with the casters pretty close together. And again, I can always go and look at my other one for reference. It sits with the casters pretty close together, and also it has this top bar on top facing up. And so now I need these also little Lego looking pieces. 2 of these, and then the M414 screw. There we go. Yep, these ones are kind of specially for the print bed. M414, yes, there only are 14 of these, or 4 of these screws, so I need all 4 of them here. M414, yeah, the longer one. Oops, Don't lose that. Okay. And these lovely Chinese instructions, just really, it's just before assembly, after assembly, and a little bit of instruction in between. I'm not sure how much you can even see of my computer screen here. You can see a little bit, it looks like. Yeah, so I guess I'm just screwing it in. Oh, it goes underneath. So I'll just flip it. And what these are little plastic clamps that will clamp down on the belt that drives the plate backward and forward. And so these clamp down on that belt later on in the process. These holes look a little gnarly, not that clean, so this might be a little difficult. I'm tilting my head again. That's how my phone slips out. Lego Cool Man just asked, how much does your ASM2 face shell cost? Well, right now, it's really just not kind of for sale because I'm in this process of, I already owe people a bunch of face shells, and it's just like, I've gotten into this situation a bunch of times over the last few years where I just am not like equipped to run a little business based around the face shells, and I can't do it myself, so I'm really angling towards this. That's why I'm doing the 3D printer stuff, because my face shells, when I do sell them, labor and stuff, it's over like $250 for everything, because it's so much labor and all the materials and everything, and that's more than this entire 3D printer. So that's really why I'm kind of trying to change everyone's perspective, that it's like one face shell. This is the price of one single face shell, and it will make you who knows how many. I'm planning on just designing. I'm gonna digitize ASM1 and ASM2. Those will be the first two that'll be ready for. You can buy the STL file and print it yourself. And I'm going to try and make it as easy to print on a printer like this, and then also kind of include methods to get the lenses and things like that aren't 3D printable. But I just think that that's a way more accessible. So in the future, that's kind of going to be the only way to get my stuff. And then I'm also looking into Shapeways, and what Shapeways does is allows you to open a store. And so if you don't have a 3D printer, or you don't want to get a 3D printer, I'll just sell the file that was going to be, that you would buy from me otherwise, and Shapeways will print that for you, and you basically only have to pay the price of the materials and whatever, I put on top of that. And it could be really expensive, though, because Shapeways is pretty expensive, just based on their materials. Because there's another face shell on Shapeways, and it costs like $300 for the kit for everything. So I don't know if that's just their fees on top making it cost that much, but it could just be how much material there is. Okay, so it looks like I'm assembling the base onto these casters, or bearings. Not sure what to call them. Okay, this is easy. Yeah, I do have a easy screwdriver here that will make it a little faster, but I have to change out the bit. Oops. This is definitely a video worthy of background. I need to put on some like elevator music or something. A lot of people on YouTube streams play like Family Guy and shows like that, and they just speed it up, I think, by like 5%, and that's how they get away with it. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, totally risk my channel to play Family Guy 5% faster. Whoop, tilting my head again. All right, I probably should just have a drill, but I don't want to go in there too tight on these things. This is a super old ratcheting screwdriver. And there we go. That was a nice little break from me talking. I wanted that to be a little nice little, just the sound of the ratchet. Just the sound of the ratchet spinning. Lego Cool Man asked if I'm excited for Homecoming. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited for all Marvel movies. I think they just do a great job on all of their projects. I was really excited to hear that Spider-Man was coming to Marvel. Oh, darn, I might have tightened that. Oops, yep, I forgot. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to tighten it in a very specific way. That's why you read the instructions first. You kind of have to go through tightening these all in a very specific way. Apparently, what you do is you tighten them diagonally. I totally forgot about that. I think I forgot about it the first time I did it too. And as you probably just saw, it makes the table not move back and forth very well. Okay, so there you go. That's its freedom of movement. Really hope that I just don't have some jacked up bearings here. Doesn't sound nearly as bad there. I guess we'll see. It'd suck if at the end of this I have to be like, don't get this because they ship you really bad bearings. Ugh. That's so scratchy. Those are bad bearings, I think. Well, I'll just continue on with assembling it, and then if it is a problem with the bearings, I've actually got a bag of replacement bearings right here. But I tried them out earlier, and they honestly don't sound much better. So who knows? Maybe I'm just crazy, but they don't sound great. Okay, tighten those diagonally. So I'll move totally diagonally up to this corner. Oh, it's just a ton of resistance there now. That one didn't have as much trouble. Ugh. Hope that doesn't sound terrible. Ugh. That is no good. Ugh. Wonder what I did wrong here. Or if it's the hardware. Maybe it's this one. That seems a little better. Oh, sorry. I was hoping it wouldn't sound really terrible. That's how bad these bearings are, I think, because it's not supposed to sound that way. Yeah, just kidding, but yeah, it's still, it doesn't sound good to me, so I can only imagine what it must sound like coming out of a computer speaker. At least it's going back and forth pretty easily. I'm going to continue on with this construction either way, but I might have to, if I'm having difficulties with my prints, I might have to come back here and take these casters out, or, bearings out. Okay, so next step. Yeah, I tightened everything, I believe. Once again, everything has to just be as solid as possible. All right, great. Next step. Ooh, time to use a belt. Oh gosh. Lego Cool Man just asked me what my favorite movie is. That's a difficult question. I actually really, really like The Muppet Christmas Carol. That's probably one of my favorite movies. It's just so well done. Michael Caine is so good, and the Christmas Christmas Carol is such a great story. Great classic story. So that's my weird answer. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't really think of it like favorite movie. There are just so many good movies out there. Love them. Am I going to have to trim this? I think I am. Okay, so I will have a little bit of excess, but I'm basically at this point just using this belt. It goes around, basically underneath. It goes around to underneath here, but it gets pinched in this spot. Goes around, comes under this little spinny part, and then goes back up. So I need to kind of measure that. What's your favorite movie, Lego Cool Man? You tell me. I have a guess, but I'm not going to assume. Oh, yeah, and I remember now. It's this belt. Cutting this belt is what made these snips. I got these snips from, they're included in the package with the printer. It was back when I was cutting this belt, because this belt, you can kind of see it has metal in it. It has wires that go up the length of it to strengthen it and make sure it doesn't snap from any tension. And it's kind of difficult to actually cut it without like some more heavy duty snips. And so I was trying to cut it with those snips, and it broke and hit me in the face, which was kind of scary. Could have hit me in the eye. Right. Can trim a little extra, but it needs to be tightened pretty well anyway. Using my tiny snips here. They kind of are getting through it. I could probably just go and grab my heavy duty snips. I don't know where they're at. They should just be here. Where are those snips? Yep, it's my dark garage. No longer in face shell mode. Ooh, loud. Hey, Supermanthy, thanks for tuning in. Just building a 3D printer. Not super Spider-Man related. I know that's what a lot of you guys are into. But I'll be doing more of that stuff very, very, very soon. I know I keep saying that, but life happens. Gosh, this is some tough belt material. There's probably something better to cut this with, but geez, there we go. Jeez, so strong. Now it's going to have a bunch of little wires sticking out too. There we go. Gosh. The rest of that will be used on the top. There we go. So, pretty simply here, it just loops under the plate through that component. Hi, Spider-Man. And Super Manthy just asked, is that your name? Manthy? Super Manthy? He just asked what my favorite movie Spider-Man suit is. I definitely like the one from ASM2 a lot. I think that's, even if you don't like the movie as much, that suit's still pretty cool. And then also the one from the Sam Raimi movies. That one's really cool with the metal web. I think that metal web is just one of the coolest things they could have done with that. It looks like armor, sort of, but isn't. Kind of is. I mean, urethane, like rubber and stuff, kind of has a protective element to it. Like the ASM1 costume, I think that's kind of how they justified a lot of that There we go, geez. Okay, now I can kind of get a mechanics look at the bottom of this thing. But with the ASM1 costume, it seems like they kind of justified that printed material, like all that raised detail was like armor, kind of like chainmail on the material. Because that's kind of the only thing that really justifies wearing spandex. You'd probably want to, for the most part, be dressed as Batman, not be wearing bright colors. You'd want storage, you'd want pockets, you'd want to have the ability to store all of your like devices and stuff. So Spider-Man's cool, but there's a lot of logic, a lot of jumps in logic to make him work. But I still enjoy it. That's why I think the best ones are Sam Raimi, where, Sam Raimi just knew to jump the logic. He knew to just jump over that logic. You go from a scene of Peter Parker designing his finished costume to him having it. It just leaps over all of that. Like, how did he make that? How did he get that? And they kind of chose to dive into it a little more in ASM1. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, you could do, my print, I don't know what other people do, but my print, I don't have a spider printed on the front, and so you can do one yourself. So I'm at a point here where you want this belt to be as tight as possible. You want it to just be tight, because otherwise, if it ever gets loose, that translates into a looser plate that isn't being, forced back and forth. And this thing can move fast sometimes. Sometimes it can just go. So, this thing takes a lot of stress and a lot of punishment. So you just want to, get it as like tight as possible. It takes a lot of, I'm just pulling, and as I pull, I reach a certain point where I can't pull anymore, and as I pull, I'm pulling the plate down. Oh, just lost it. My hands are kind of sweaty, which makes this so easy. Because thankfully with this clamping system, you can kind of just keep doing this until you get the desired results. Because you can tighten it, and then it has to kind of squeeze through at a certain point. I guess it could just be down at the bottom here. There's no reason not to be, really. There we go. There we go. So I'll just be pulling against the table now. And I could probably also use I don't even have pliers out here. Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, foam's a good way to make a face shell, especially if you're just, you're experimenting with face shells and stuff and figuring out ways. I think you could actually do a face shell out of paper mache. Look at paper mache tutorials on like balloons and on like head busts, because paper mache is actually a pretty durable, lightweight, easy, accessible thing. Kind of an analog to like liquid plastic. And you can add white glue to your paper mache mixture, and that makes it, because that is plastic, so you're actually making like a plastic face shell. Okay, that's pretty tight. I'm wondering if I want to just loosen it a little and go at it again, just try again, because I feel like I could maybe make it a little tighter. I could also probably make it a little tighter with some pliers. So I'll grab those really fast. Out in the garage. Looking at my cool little tool wall here. Cool pegboard. Everything has a place. Okay. Hopefully I won't need to grab any more tools. So this just gives me a little bit better leverage as I'm pulling and tightening this belt. I don't think I loosened it enough. Yeah, Rob. I've been thinking a lot of that mesh and those lenses. I will. I think I'll do a tutorial on that because basically I'm gonna do a tutorial on everything. I haven't, It's not like I'm doing a series only a couple months long. Like I kind of want to just do this stream forever. So yeah, I'll eventually do that because it's a pretty neat process. It's advanced. That's probably why you're asking about it. It was really hard to figure out, but it's a way of making mesh and casting it and stuff. But it's also, I mean, I don't know. I think there might be other perhaps better ways to do it out there that other people are utilizing. I've just liked that method and always done it that way. But I also have been thinking about with the nature of 3D printing the face shells. I don't. Basically, I'll have to kind of like give you guys a idea of how to do that. Get some kind of mesh going because like that's the one of the components that you're not going to be able to 3D print unless you have a really really good 3D printer. I think maybe you could get a mesh out of a 3D printer if it had such a high quality setting. But even then, it's still going to be kind of lower quality. So this stuff is just such a pain in the butt to cut. Pain in the butt to cut. Very, very tight tension though, which is good. It'll have a lot of firm control over that. I think I've got scissors. Yeah, these guys might do it. These are some shears that are just a little stronger. That's interesting. Yeah, it's easy. Spider-Man was just talking about puff painting and puff painting suits. It's definitely a lot easier if when you're just puff painting, all you do is the webs. And that's something you can do, I think. I think you can really get away with that. Just puff paint the webs. And people get that, because a lot of what puff painting is just to get that 3D effect on the fabric. And the ASM1 suit has it all over, which is really cool. Every time I've worn that suit, people are always super they're like, what is that material? Which is neat. It really sells the look of Spider-Man that you have some kind of crazy material. There we go. Jeez. But I think you can really just get away with, because especially the state that dye sublimation is at, you can really print the effect. And people have been doing that for a long time. People have even been, Spidey for Fun has been printing suits with 3-dimensional webbing effect on them. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the webbing alone just sells it a lot. So I've done that on suits. All right, I think I'm done with that stage finally. Everything is tight and tense. Okay, and so now it's time to put the actual heated bed component on, I believe. And one thing I've learned when I first got this thing is that it's very difficult for a lower quality heat bed. And that's kind of, unfortunately what we're dealing with. It's just a lower quality heat bed. It's just a couple of, wire filaments that go all over the bed. The bed sits here an inch off of this plate. And so it just kind of sits in the middle of the air. And, hey, CAK Comedy, thanks for tuning in. But it just sits here an inch above this print bed, and so it's really hard for it to heat up itself. It has a lot of airflow, ambient airflow around it, so that heat that it uses to heat itself up just kind of dissipates into the air. And so what I've actually got on my other printer, it's a little messy, so I don't want to do this solution on this one, but I've actually got fiberglass insulation that's from pipe insulation, and I just put 2 strips of it underneath, and that basically immediately, it was like night and day how fast it was able to heat up. What I'm going to do this time, though, is cork. And I'm not sure where my cork is, so I'm going to set the camera down for a little bit and then go find the cork. Yeah, you guys can have this really neat look of some bolts. Or nuts. Gosh, I get that wrong every time. I'll go find that cork. Found it. And also am back. And here we go. There we go. Cool. So I have more viewers when I'm just have the camera sitting still than when I'm actually doing stuff. That's great. But this is just cork. Sheets of what is it? Looks like a 1/4 inch maybe. Yeah, because it looks like an inch total. And this is another thing that I read online that you can do, and so I was curious to try it. So I got this at like an office supply section inside of a store. It's for like pinning notes to the wall, but it's just cork, and it's the perfect amount, not a ton, because sometimes cork comes in like huge sheets. But I think that this is like a safe, like non-flammable insulation for it. I did a theater show in college, and the show had a lot of sand. Like we were on the stage with sand all around us, and they used a special cork sand. So that's what this cork reminds me of. Just we had so much of this really spongy, soft sand, because walking on sand for a long time, like in a theater show, you do something for a long time, it can really wear at the bottom of your feet. And so they did that cork to spare us that injury to our feet. All right, so I guess I'll take a Sharpie or something here and trace it. Don't really have one sitting here though. That's funny. I'm just looking at comments right now, And Spider-Man just asked, McLean, have you heard of dragon skinning the spider? Yeah, I've heard of that. I'm the first one that did that. I that was an idea I had about 4 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago now, geez, when the first Amazing Spider-Man movie came out. Because if you remember the first Amazing Spider-Man movie costume, he has, a very glossy chest spider that's segmented into like a million segments, like, 20 to 22, I think, different segments. And so for casting that, because I had to make the suit. I had been commissioned to make the suit, which is kind of what got me started into all of this. And so I had to make that spider. I had a deadline, and I basically, I was trying to cast all of the individual components, and I would have had to have sanded them and make them look really glossy, and that was like a monumental amount of work. And then also I didn't know how to glue them to the suit without having each of them fall apart or look weird, and so that silicone spider technique kind of came in and saved the day, and ended up being a really cool thing. And it's a cool example of like, if I had known more, if I had known better, I probably would have been able to do that spider really easily with urethane rubber. Like in hindsight, I think about it and it's like I could have done that with urethane rubber and a silicone mold and glued it on, easy peasy, no problem. But it's kind of like it's the virtue of ignorance. And the fact that I didn't know how to do that, I had to invent a new way because I had a deadline and a clock ticking. And so I have no doubt that people have put silicone on costumes. Like I can't say that I totally, invented that. But I didn't really like get the idea from anyone I like or see anyone applying liquid silicone to costumes. It kind of just came from puff painting. And then one thing that made it possible was doing the puff paint outline around the different areas that you're going to be doing your silicone work in. Because if you don't have some sort of outline or something that stops the silicone just would pool out. So basically it was kind of the idea of making a puff paint outline and then putting the silicone inside so the silicone has to pool within that outline. Like if you put even a bit too much, I've had spiders where the silicone will spill out over the outline. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that technique. I think it's funny. And it's kind of funny. It's funny that you mentioned that chest spider because I have seen, some other tutorials and stuff about chest spider doing the silicone chest spider or just silicone details in general, and that's a thing I came up with. That's kind of my technique that I came up with a couple years ago, and I was really proud of it. And so that's a big part of why I'm doing these streams right now. I kind of realized when that was that info was kind of getting just thrown out there like it's just kind of the way it's always been. It kind of made me realize like, well, if I don't go out there and like teach my stuff, then someone else will. I mean, it's not you guys are smart and you'll figure out these techniques, and then someone else will go out and teach it. And so either I do it or someone else does it. That's my math in this situation. All right, so this is time for some miscellaneous screw stuff here. So now I need springs that will hold the print bed up off of the base. So basically like that. What those springs do is it adds enough tension that, I think it's M30? Yeah, it's M30. So with these longer screws here, you go through the print bed, and in this case, through the cork as well. I'm still not totally positive how well this cork is going to work out. I think, well, that wouldn't sandwich it in there. I might need something that like holds it there better. Hopefully the screws will be enough. I should poke the holes though. That's what I need to do. Thanks for tuning in, Spider-Man. Have a good day. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys stopping in when you can. I enjoy the company, and you can do other stuff. You can, like Twisted mentioned he was doing homework. That's funny. God, PTSD flashbacks to the days when I had to do homework. God, I'm so glad that's behind me. I don't mean to rub it in your faces if you have to do homework, because I mean there's merit to it. One thing I'll say is I look back at homework and I always had an attitude like sort of like, ugh, what does this have to do with my life? I hate this. I don't need to put my time towards this. And it's just sort of a thing that exists it's a way to show that you're competent. It's a way to show that you can get an assignment into the outside world. I mean, you could be a very competent person and do bad on tests and homework and stuff, but I mean, you're just going to pay for that later, because that's kind of me. I was always kind of it's funny because I interviewed Jose, and he mentioned that, he was always kind of bad in school. I was kind of the same way. It's just kind of this like kind of willful like disobedience of like, oh, I don't need to do homework. Oh, I don't see any point to this. It's busy work. And, I'll be honest, it is. A lot of homework is busy work, but that's because there's not really any other way to teach, to get that information to a large amount of people. But yeah, that's my spiel on homework in school. It's great because, I mean, someday you get out of school and it's like your life becomes what you want to do, what like your homework is the thing that you want to do, what you need to do for your life, which is really stressful, but then also at the same time really like liberating. College was fun though. I liked college a lot. College was very different than like high school and middle school. College was a lot more like relaxed and understanding of an environment, which is funny because all throughout high school and middle school, you'll have teachers telling you like, oh, it's going to get so hard when you go to college. And it can. I mean, there are definitely degrees that are insanely difficult that will keep you up most of the day and most of the night studying and stuff. So those do exist, but, it's not always going to be like that. There's some degrees that are fun and interesting. Okay, so this cork is kind of falling apart as I try to get it up and on this spring. The spring is kind of destroying it, because that's the thing, is you need the table to kind of press against. Oh, you know what I could try this time? Oh, yeah, I think I will. I'm going to try flipping the heat bed, because I always print on glass. This heat bed is already set up with masking tape on it, but it's not always the best material to print on, masking tape. It's kind of, you have to sometimes peel it up and you have to reapply your masking tape. So what I do is I actually have just cheap picture frames. They literally cost like $2. Just the cheapest kind of 8x10 picture frame that you can buy, and it has a sheet of glass in it, and I got this from Walmart, and it's nice because it has kind of like rounded edges, not like really rounded, but they're not sharp. They're not like really freshly cut glass sharp. And I think Walmart probably does that just because it avoids someone opening up their picture frame and slicing their hand. But it's nice because then you can kind of work with it and handle it, and it's not super sharp. But that's what I always use to print on. And then you use a glue stick. And a glue stick glue, like what you use for posters and stuff, because that glue really gives the plastic something to bond to. Should I do this? It's not super flat. You know what? Actually, now I'm just deciding that I don't want to, stray too far away from what I've got going on my other printer. Welcome to my decision-making process, I guess. Yeah, this cork is just kind of difficult. doesn't want to poke clean holes. There we go. I just needed to poke a larger starter hole. I'm twisting that Phillips head, and it's just allowing it to kind of burrow in like a drill bit would in a rudimentary way. Cool. All right. So there are all of the nice clean holes. And these springs, are pushing against the screw to always keep the print bed, the heated print bed, at whatever level the screws are at. Because later on, once the printer's fully done, when you're calibrating the head of the printer, it needs to move perfectly at the height of the print bed. So you use these screws. You screw them in and adjust them to get that perfectly even, flat print bed that slipping out. There we go. That the extruder can move along. There we go. Caught it. And then there are wing nuts that go even below this. Yeah, okay. There we go. Oh, that's cool. What kind of printer did you get, CAK? He just said that his printer came fully assembled out of the box, other than the extruder and the print bed. Robo 3D printer. Okay, well, now that I've said it, I have the reference for later. If you don't mind my asking, how much did it cost? Because that's kind of the big element here. What you're getting for what you pay for, essentially. Okay, that's honestly, I was considering getting a slightly higher quality printer. It sounds like that's probably what you've got. I'm sure it is. But I got another one of these because my thought process was that I didn't want to change. I'm probably going to always be using both printers, so I kind of want a similar level of quality from both so that it's kind of consistent in the refining of it. And along those lines, since I have a lot of, I've never really had a model I haven't been able to print on this thing. I mean, it does everything I've needed it to do so far. So I was like, well, what if I just kept getting these and just got a bunch of these and kind of made a bank of them? And, if you design an Iron Man suit or something, you get it printed in a week because, being only like $180, you could get 4 or 5 of these things. And yeah, you do have to do this afternoon of installation and assembling. It's kind of like a grown-up Lego kit here. But at the end of that, you could have a big bank of these and have like 6 or 7 or 8 heads all printing at once. That's funny. I actually, I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do a RoboCop suit. Maybe like classic RoboCop, or I also like the silver design of the RoboCop suit in the newest RoboCop movie. I like that kind of classic callback that they have, even though it's only in the movie for like the first, or well, it's only when he's RoboCop, he's like briefly with the silver design, and then he turns into the black stealthy RoboCop, which is cool, but it also loses a lot of the character. RoboCop was always such a distinct, silvery blue character, and my problem is that black stealth suits, like the new RoboCop and how Batman can usually be and things like that. My problem is that it just it loses it's super practical and it's awesome. It actually seems like something that should exist, but it loses a lot of that like character, and it's just so hard to design a black suit that doesn't just lose everything. Yeah, I kind of want to do a cool RoboCop suit, or I kind of also want to tackle some of the Iron Man suits from Iron Man 3. Even though that movie, I liked Iron Man 3. There are some plot holes in it, but there are some of those suits that are just really cool. So I kind of want to just like get it to a place where I can start printing and just have a bunch of printers working. It's having a little resistance, maybe? Hopefully not. I could always grease it up a little bit and see if it's still having this problem. Yeah, what is that? That's weird. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I've kind of thought about that too. I kind of want my own Hall of Armor, just because that'd be just such a cool thing to have. Just have like a Batman suit and have a Iron Man suit and Spider-Man suits. I also kind of want to 3D print a mannequin, like figure out a mannequin design that is 3D printable and lighter, and it'd be nice if it was collapsible, and then use that for like displaying suits. Be more posable, hopefully. Like maybe a 3D printable mannequin like shell with like PVC pipe structure that goes inside, and then the 3D print is so specific that it has like fittings for the PVC pipe, and then you can have like a posable mannequin, which would be really cool. Pretty much, it basically would be a giant action figure, a giant life-size human action figure. market to adults like the way they market little girls that like life-size princess. Okay, I mean, it's sliding back and forth, but I really am not too thrilled about the amount of resistance I'm getting here. Probably sounds really great to you guys. Ugh, so scratchy. It's like 10 times scratchier than my other one, it seems like. Yeah, I mean, listen to the comparison there. I mean, it's just, all you hear is the tension of the motor, and the casters just kind of slide easily. So, I don't know. I mean, I was happy with my first printer, definitely. But right now, I'm not totally psyched about these casters or the quality of this. And I wouldn't hesitate to just contact GearBest. They're the company that I bought this from. GearBest.com is super cheap. I'd probably just send them a message, and I might do that tonight, and just be like, "Hey, your printer kind of sucked. Can I get some new parts?" Because this is basically, it's like a failure in quality control. Like if you get a batch of bearings from some company and they're no good, then you need to not ship them to your customer. But some companies will just ship them to you. CAK just said, "Is it weird that I like watching my 3D printer?" No, that's not weird. I love when it's going. Like, it's funny because I'll sit there and I'll watch it. Like, I realize I'm kind of like waiting for it to finish. I'll sit there and I'll just wait until it's gonna finish, and then I realize, like, wait a minute, this thing's gonna take like another 4 hours of exactly what it's doing right now. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys. These are some helmet pieces that I 3D printed, and just kind of give you an idea of like the kind of level of stuff you can do. I kind of have a little swoop design in there, and this is the lowest quality print setting, by the way, just to get it printed quickly, because I'll be sanding and polishing it and stuff. But I've got little things like I have a little connector in there for a Velcro strap. It's not the strongest connector, but it's there. And then also I designed a hole, and this kind of just goes to show, you're once you start designing with a 3D printer, you kind of start thinking like how your electronics are designed, like your TV remote. Like you can actually screw things in and bolt things into your designs. And of course you can do that without 3D printing. But it just kind of changes the way you think about that stuff. It's not like, well, how do I glue that? It's like, well, what size of bolt do I use? Because then I can unbolt it. It's an amazing, amazing thing. Oh, that's funny. Well, welcome back, Spider-Man, first of all. But it's funny, Spider-Man just said, would you consider doing Power Rangers? And that's actually, I want to do a White Ranger helmet, like the classic White Ranger, because this is a very curved, I don't have the rest of the pieces on hand. They're over on my other desk. But this is a very curved type helmet like that. I think you could absolutely do like a Power Rangers. All you'd need to do is remove this visor opening and put the Power Ranger faceplate on there with the eyes and the mouth, and you could print that separately, have the helmet components, and then print the faceplate. But yeah, I do want to design that. Maybe you're referring to the newer ones. I haven't seen the new movie yet. I've heard good things though, and I want to see it, but I haven't. I would want to design the classic Power Rangers. Because I think that there's also probably a market for that. I think people like that, and it's kind of hard to get your hands on high quality helmets. So, along the lines of my business of making the 3D printable STL files, someday, if I decide to make a White Ranger helmet, then you can print it. You would be able to get the STL file and print all of the components and finish it. And I'll be finishing it in the stream and stuff, so you'll see what you need to do. That's funny. I don't know how old you are, but I remember when the first Power Ranger movie came out, because I was a kid back in the 90s, and I loved Power Rangers when it was first introduced to America as Power Rangers, as the repackaged Super Sentai. But as a kid, it was just awesome. I had all the toys. I was the Green Ranger for Halloween, and then I was the White Ranger for Halloween. It's funny, my mom used to tell a story about how the Power Rangers, I wanted to be the Green Ranger so bad for Halloween. And then at the end of the Power Ranger season, which was like October, it's when they released the White Ranger. And it's the Green Ranger became the White Ranger. So it was like, oh, no one's thinking about the Green Ranger anymore. It's all the White Ranger. And this was literally like two weeks or a week before Halloween. And so my mom, God bless her, made the switch. Basically, I mean, not like it was a huge undertaking. My mom's ideas of a Power Ranger costume was buying green sweatpants and then sewing a couple little accessories onto it. That's it. And then we'd like get the helmet from one of those catalogs. I think that's how most parents view it. And when you're this type of person, the person who like cares about that kind of stuff, it's like, no, I want a cool Power Ranger costume. That just doesn't fly. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Power Rangers is incredible. It's a powerhouse franchise. I don't even know which one Jungle Fury is because I stopped paying attention to it a long time ago, but I'll always have a nostalgic love for Power Rangers deep down. And I know Yoshi. Yoshi was on one of the Power Ranger shows, which is incredible. I mean, that's awesome. I don't know Yoshi too well. I've only met him once. But I follow his stuff on social media and stuff. He does neat stunt work. Come on. My fingers are malfunctioning. Okay, so these little wing nuts are just there to make sure that as like a second, because if you're loosening it, then they'll fall off if you go too far. I'm sure they have more of a use than that, but it's kind of as much because you can kind of just not put these in because the bolt is going through both plates and is threaded in. That's funny. No, you don't need to be Spider Boy. I mean, Spider-Man already is Spider Boy. I mean, let's face it. He's a kid. That's where all of the great... He got my name wrong. I'm the human spider. That's funny. That's part of the reason why I love those movies so much. The first Sam Raimi movies, like they're just so well done. They're so solid. I mean, the third movie has some problems, and I think it's a lot because they had to bend over to insert Venom into the plot. I think if it had just been Sandman, it would have been another great Raimi movie. But they had to bend over to get Venom into the plot because the fans were like going nuts about it. So that kind of ruined that movie. But those movies were so good. They're just so solid, so endearing, so heartwarming. Like they're funny. They have like insightful moments. Like they're really just expertly crafted films. And it's Spider-Man's awesome, but it is a comic book movie, so it's crazy that those movies... Yeah, I'd say Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies for sure. Just so well done. And you have kind of the Spider-Man 1 lays the groundwork for it. I think we'll always look back at the era of the Raimi Spider-Man movies, the Nolan Batman movies, as just being like really well done storytelling. And now it's kind of gotten a little commercial, I feel like. It's a little... like, oh, this is what sells action figures to kids, so this is what we do. And it still is good, it still is entertaining, but it's just not as, like, poignant as it used to be, maybe. Okay, I haven't really been assembling this thing. I've just been sliding it back and forth and talking. So I've got the bed on. I think that's all done. Yeah, that looks all done. So now it's time to start assembling the stepper... Oh, shoot, I shouldn't mix up these bags. I think that's it. Maybe. Who knows? If I get confused, I'll remember that I got it mixed up. The next step here is assembling sort of little boxes that have the stepper motors that spin up here. I'll look at the other printer to show you what I mean. Mine's a little dustier, but I'm just assembling this little box here, and then the stepper motor comes straight up and out of that, and that's what spins and raises this entire assembly that moves the extruder back and forth. That's funny. Yeah, I honestly, it's funny. I was never huge into the comics. I collected them when I was younger, but I never really here's what I'll say about the comics that have always kind of turned me off. Any storytelling medium that just goes forever, that just is like, okay, here's Superman, and we're just going to tell stories about Superman forever, it inevitably turns into a soap opera. It inevitably turns into, oh, he died, but then he isn't dead, but his evil twin is going to come in and take his place, and oh, now he has amnesia, so he doesn't know his love interest, so now he can go pursue another love interest. Any storytelling medium that just has to go forever, it turns into a soap opera. And, I think that there are a lot of examples in comics where it just kind of, there are excellent comics out there for sure. I like graphic novels for that reason, because graphic novels are always so much more concise. Like Watchmen is just a story that is told and then it's done. Yeah, that's kind of my little spiel on comics. Just kind of that serialized, tune in next month, it always kind of turns into that sort of story. And I think you can find examples of it in the Spider-Man mythology of people dying and being cloned and brought back and their brains are switched, and it kind of gets a little crazy. Oh, Dark Knight Returns is excellent. Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, The Killing Joke. Those are some that I can remember off the top of my head that are really great. Obviously, they're classics, and there's way more, but I actually haven't read that many. Okay, so yeah, I'm installing this box now. Time to install this box. And then also there's a switch here. I didn't mention that. There's a switch right in here. Then that's how the whole entire printer knows when to stop. Once that switch is hit, and there's the same exact kind of switch back here. And it's just super basic. That's how it knows to stop. It's gone too far once that switch is pressed. And that's just so that it doesn't grind itself to death trying to push too far, thinking it can move further, and then it'd just be a matter of something would have to break. So that switch is just kind of like a safety thing. So I'm going to be assembling the next one that is above, and I'll do that first so that it's kind of up and here, because it's going to be harder to do that when these are installed. So I need these two pieces. Yeah, it's funny mentioning The Dark Knight Returns, because it's obvious if you've seen the most recent Superman movie, or Superman versus Batman, and are familiar with The Dark Knight Returns, which is kind of a darker, heavier comic, so you might not be. Basically, like Superman versus Batman was pretty much almost a telling of The Dark Knight Returns. There's basically the exact same fight happens at the end of The Dark Knight Returns, where Superman and Batman are fighting, and Batman's in a armored suit, and it's really exciting because it's like kind of the best representation that we've gotten of that to date. But the really kind of disappointing thing about it is it's just not the same. It's not the same context of where the comic book goes, or the graphic novel goes, versus where Batman versus Superman go. Because in the graphic novel, Batman and Superman are fighting, but they've also known each other for 20 years, I think, and have had ideological differences for 2 decades, and so it's like a fight that has happened because of like the ideological differences between them. Whereas with Batman versus Superman, it's just a fight where it's they're both it's a misunderstanding. It's a big misunderstanding, and that's why they're fighting. And that is just so outside the realm of those two characters. I mean, it's so unbelievable that Batman and Superman would just misunderstand and fight each other. I mean, I know it has like Superman had to save his mom and, you know, all that element, and Batman was kind of coerced into it by Lex Luthor, but I think that was a big problem with that movie. They tried to borrow too much from that awesome graphic. Okay, sorry about that. My phone rang. Well, that's what happens when my phone rings. The stream probably pauses for a second. Okay, so here are my new end stops. Looks like I've got two. I've got the X and the Z end stop. I'm using switch, the Z axis limit switch. Yes, that makes sense because it has a tiny little cord because it only has to go this far. And the other one, I don't even know where that other one goes, really. Where does that switch go? Oh, that's right. It goes on the arm itself. It goes. That's what keeps the extruder from going too far over this way, and then this one is what keeps it from going too far down. Stops it from grinding into the print bed. So now I just need to get the screws and go through it like that. I think that's an M318 maybe? Did I install this too soon? I'm pretty certain that it's just these little sharp screws that put in every one of the switches. Yeah, these ones. Pretty sure. No, you know what? It's not. It has those holes, so it's definitely that M318. M318, I think, screw. I've gotten my bags all disorganized. That was dumb. Oh well. Make it more fun. Yeah, thanks, Spider-Man. Yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching these. They're very fun. It's just work that I'd be doing no matter what, and it's fun to kind of chat with you guys and like not keep it all to myself and whatnot. Okay, it's not telling me which screw to use here. M312 and M318. So this is the M318. Oops. Yeah, maybe that's it. We'll see. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, I think that's it. All of the switches, I think, just go with these sharp little screws. That's funny. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I mean, I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. It's funny that you should say that. Spider-Man just mentioned, he's like, I dream of working with you someday. Like, I know that feeling. But I mean, I'm not the most, collaborative guy. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't really work with people very much. I don't think that's always the way it's going to be. And so, who knows? Someday we could work together on stuff. And I think this stream kind of is already changing that and setting that in that direction. Oh, shoot, I have it backwards. Whoops, I have to take all that apart. What I did was I put these holes down at the bottom when they should have been at the top, so I have to flip those pieces around. This is the kind of stuff that made assembling the printer take a long time at the beginning. That's funny. Hey, Matt, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm actually really excited. You guys that are waiting for face shells, you're, I think, well, it's a little early to say, but I think you kind of have lucked out. I mean, and no way are you lucky in how long you've had to wait. But I'm going to be starting to do these 3D printed face shells pretty soon here. And I think they're going to have some really neat aspects to them, like just things that you can do with 3D printing that I could never do before with traditional, vacuum forming and making my shells like that. And then also with 3D printing, I mean, with face shells, I have to, no matter what, I have to cut out the eye holes, I have to drill all the air holes, sand the edges, and so there will still be stuff to be done as far as that kind of stuff. But with 3D printing, I'll be able to just kind of like get it going. And I have 2 printers already, so I'll be able to just get those things going, even just in the short term here. And you guys will kind of get to be the first ones to get those finished shells. I'll make sure that they're the right quality, and I'm not giving you something lower quality, because that's kind of one problem I've always had is that. One problem I've always had is that sometimes I get really excited about updates to like my methods, but I don't like test them out enough. Like sometimes I can be like, oh, I love this new paint job I added to the face shell, but I didn't test it out well enough. I didn't go and like wear it out and discover that it's actually kind of difficult to use before I kind of ran out and I was like, hey everyone, here's this face shell, like here's this option on your face shell that you can order. And so I've always been kind of bad about that. And people kind of pay the price. That happens with prints too. I learn my lessons sometimes through people just kind of having problems. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now the switch is on top. All right, so my battery's getting low. I might have to plug it in here in a second. And we'll see. Spider-Man. Perhaps I'll be able to, once I kind of get everything caught up, I could start doing like kits. I don't think I'll ever do fully offered, fully finished shells, unless maybe in like giveaways or in auctions. I might auction fully finished shells and masks. But I'm never going to kind of do the same thing I've done in the past where it's like, for X dollars, you can have a fully finished face shell. Because it's clear to me now that that's really not the kind of work that I'm cut out for or that I want to do. So I definitely want to figure out a solution, though, that doesn't just cut that off for everyone. So we'll see. I think it'll be a little easier. That's probably the hole it goes through, but I'll wait. Because it has these holes in the structure that you can actually, thread the wires through. That's probably the hole it goes through. So now that I've gotten that on there, it took me long enough, it's time to start assembling these extra stepper motors. And I'm doing both Z-axis motors. Yeah, 2 Z-axis motors. And this is this frustrating thing I talked about with these kind of vague instructions. So I've got this Z stopper motor, and it has a plug here on the bottom. Everything is pretty much the same on it except for the fact that it has a plug. And they don't show you, I don't know how well you can see these diagrams, but they don't show you what direction the plug goes ever. They never indicate that. It's always just motor. Motor goes here. And they never have any kind of like square that indicates the plug. I think that's a simple thing that they could change. Matt, yeah, possibly. I would definitely, I wouldn't force someone that doesn't want it, but I'm thinking, with the way that I'm gonna have some shells printing in the next few days here. I'm making that a priority, and the way it's gonna have some really neat features in it, like a really open, airy design. It can kind of just be a mesh structure of a shell, and then I'm gonna do some cool stuff to the mouth area that's gonna make the mouth movable. You'll be able to open and close the jaw a little bit. But yeah, so I should specify that if someone doesn't want that and they still want the vacuum formed one, I still have a lot of the shells basically in construction and, basically in different stages of ready to go. It's just like, it's really the lenses. The lenses are so much work. So the shells can be either way. I'm coming over here now. So looking at the one I've already assembled, because I had to basically Google it and find other tutorials to figure out what direction it goes. It looks like it goes straight back, which makes sense. It just goes straight back and basically through this little hole in the plastic. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So basically just flipped around like that. Get this other one out. Goes over there like that. Now I need these. Oh, wow, it's already 5:30. Here in Los Angeles, sunny Los Angeles. Always nice Los Angeles. Okay, so it looks like there's one very minute little detail. It's the positioning. Yeah, it's the positioning spot for the guide rod. So you have to keep in mind that this extra hole is important. So this has to go on this side, basically. Oops, that's not right. Wonder which way it is. It's that way, because it kind of is a little foot. Yep, okay. Awesome. Spider-Man just said he's using the round plastic bottle idea from one of my previous streams. Yeah, I think with 3D printed shells, I think I'm going to actually rely on that. I mean, that's just such an easy way to get people to make their own lenses, at least. I think that's totally, you could 3D print your face shell, you could 3D print your frames, and then just make soda bottle lenses and then use the bridle mesh as the white part. And then I still need to figure out what to do about that mesh, that white mesh. There has to be something that like people like. I'm betting that there is a perforated vinyl out there. I've never used it, so I'm sure that I could figure that out and just refer people to that. But that's kind of like the last thing, that white mesh, before you kind of have just like the same quality of face shell that I make, just with a bunch of super accessible things. Oh, Matt, I definitely think the 3D printed shells are actually going to be more accurate. It's actually going to take another step towards more accurate, because I'm going to be able to really refine the shape. I'm going to really be able to look at reference pictures and like, I think, I'm really happy with the way my face shell looks for sure, but there's still things, like there's still little things, little bumps in certain areas and the shapes, and there's definitely, while doing the photogrammetry process, I've learned that there are asymmetrical parts where it's not the same on both sides. And so that's what's going to be the real advantage of 3D printing, is it's going to be perfectly symmetrical. It's seriously, I think it's going to look like awesome. I can't wait to 3D print a shell. And that'll be in the next few days. And then that's also how my moving lenses, I think I'm going to go forward with that, because when you can 3D print a face shell, you can 3D print a face shell with all of the mechanical elements of my moving lenses ready to go up inside of it. And so it wouldn't be a matter of me charging you $1,000 to make this advanced puppetry mask. It would be you downloading a couple of files and putting your own hard work and effort into it, and then you have an awesome thing that you could be proud of, and I can go on designing more, and then you can download that other one that I make. So that's definitely why I'm on the path I'm on right now. Pretty happy about that and the way it's going. That one, or maybe a little shorter. I think shorter. This guy. I've really gotten it disorganized now, I think. But it's kind of obvious. There aren't that many different sizes of screw. It's like 4. Spider-Man, I just saw your comment. I imagine you're referencing like mesh, like what kind of mesh people use, which is part of why I'm not too worried about offering the shell without that mesh. I think people will be able. You guys are super resourceful. When you guys need an element of the costume, you figure out where to get it and where to source it and all that. So I'm kind of more just, I put it all together. I'm pretty skilled in putting it all together, but the problem is that it is pretty tough. I mean, it's hard to put all these things together, and that gets pretty stressful when it takes several days to make a set of lenses for someone, and then some little thing can kind of ruin the whole thing. So several days of work can just go down the toilet. Very frustrating. Usually ends in that lens getting thrown across the room. All right, fit in there. Okay, there we go. So now I do the same process of slipping a bolt in there. Oh, that's going to be easy. Yeah, that'd definitely be helpful for people looking to assemble it as like a kit. Be really nice to be able to because I also, I've considered offering a kit, of all the pieces and stuff, because I don't want to assemble them anymore. That's kind of my thing. I really need to buckle down and focus and get the ones done that I need to get done. But it's really just not my thing. So I'm excited for an alternative that gets the product in your hands, because that's kind of a big reason people might ask, like, if you keep having problems with it, why do you keep coming back to it? And it's like, a lot of it is that you guys might have noticed that, like, that's sometimes is people's first thing they say when they come is like, how much? How do I get it? I want to buy it. And so it kind of, I want to facilitate that. I want to help you get the thing you want to get. There we go. Come on. Where'd that screw hole go? Oh, almost lost my phone again. Ooh, this can be tough sometimes. Oh, bye-bye, phone. Okay, phone, you wait here. Ooh, sometimes these can be tricky. There we go. Got it. Wow. That could be a hard one. Oh, there we go. You got a nice little view of me in my headset there, probably. That's funny. Nice little break from the jerky movement, too, I'm sure. It's pretty crazy, though, how well this headset works out, I think. Basically just because, based on the fact that you're not all complaining all the time about it, because something like this could be pretty jerky and sickening. Thanks, Matt. Matt just I noticed his comment that he's excited to see future work. And it's funny that you should be the one in here, saying that, because I feel so bad. I always feel so constantly bad. Like, honestly, I missed another deadline this weekend. Eric C had a convention that he wanted to. He emailed me, 2 weeks in advance. He's like, "Hey, I have a convention coming up in 2 weeks. Is there any chance I could get my face shell by then?" And I always try to facilitate that, short of just, totally disregarding the order. I probably shouldn't have said that, because now everyone's going to have a convention coming up next week. But I feel really bad because I still missed that deadline, even though I set time aside to work on the shells. Just like my progress is always so slow on that stuff. But I do. I want to. Basically where I was going with that is it sucks because, like, you guys are so cool and nice, and you're always so supportive, and it's the worst. Like, it's the worst that it's you guys that I end up, like, make wait so long. So I do always feel bad about that, but I'm excited. I'm excited that this isn't a solution that gets me out of that kind of recurring cycle. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that sentiment. He said that he's willing to, wait, because I tend to offer a higher quality thing usually. Yeah, but it still is not. I mean, I have people waiting about a year now on things. Like, if some of you remember that contest I did a year ago, that's still going. I mean, Alex is waiting for me to finish that moving lens and send it to him. I just have been have been asking him to be patient for the last year as well. So, all these kinds of things, I just would love to catch up and get it done in a way that I can get things out there. Okay. Oh, cool. Thanks for that link. I'll check that out. My phone battery is dying. I can plug it in here in a second. But maybe maybe I'm not able to get the rest of this thing assembled in this stream. Maybe I need to just film it. Well, that's basically what I am doing right now. I could probably do a couple more live streams assembling it, because I just need to get it done. I need to get it off my table and get it printing stuff, because that's what I got it for. But it's still pretty intense. It also kind of adds the difficulty of doing it with my phone on my face. A little harder there. There we go. Out of curiosity, Spider-Man, where did you find out about that, like, window tint? Was that, like, on the RPF, or is that something that another maker, like, told everyone about? Or I always like to kind of figure that out, because, I'm kind of, if you watch my streams, I can kind of be a little preoccupied with, like, credit and stuff. So I like to return the favor to people who are nice and credit me for the stuff that they do. So if I learn a technique from someone else, I definitely want to kind of return the favor, be the change I want to see in the world. Okay, and then there we go. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so that's kind of the base this is the base structure, and then the guide rods will go in there. The twisting rods will go in there. So now I need to do what I did to the last one. Yeah, maybe my phone dying is a good break though, because I do need to eat food every now and then. Sometimes on these longer streams, I'll end the stream and I'm just like so hungry. Oop. How did I even... Oh, of course. I didn't even do it on the top one over there. This is a really pretty difficult little maneuver right here, trying to get this one to go top down. It doesn't ask you to do that very often. I might have to tilt it back to do that. It's going to be very difficult to catch the bolt as it's going down here. I wish I could get the camera in there a little more to show you what I'm doing. Oh, I'm kind of just trying to pinch the nut in there with the bolt. I might have to take like pliers. Yeah, I might have to just tilt it back in order to get that tightened on there, because I don't have it done on the other side either. Oh, geez. I love a challenge. Get in there. Doing some brain surgery here. It'd be really easy if I had some like pliers, probably, or tweezers. Yeah, okay. I have tweezers. I'll just go ahead and bite the bullet here. Okay, pinchy. Well, that was a little easier. Probably should have just been doing that the whole time. So hey, late tip, get some tweezers while you're assembling your printer. Or maybe fine needle nose pliers. CAK just asked if I've ever thought of doing a Wolverine cosplay. And yeah, especially if you guys have seen the stream I did on my Birdman mask. I did that a few weeks ago, and that looks a lot like Wolverine. I actually think they basically stole the look of Wolverine from Birdman because it's so similar. And Wolverine looked really different when he came out, and he came out after Birdman. But yeah, doing that made me want to do a Wolverine because I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. Okay, I just plugged in my phone there, so I shouldn't be dying now. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but there's a really famous artist out there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he did like a Wolverine suit, like sitting in a suitcase. So it has like a mask and like the gloves and the suit, and it looks really cool. You know, he just designed it to look like a cool modern superhero movie where it's, you know, a bunch of cool textures and stuff, because they've always done Wolverine like as the black leather or no suit. He's like just wearing no shirt and running through the woods. So they've never really gone to the like full comic book yellow and blue look. Although they did do a little bit of that in
Days of Future Past. I feel like his suit had a little bit more like yellow in it, like yellow leather still, but yeah, Wolverine's cool. I like that suit. It'd be cool. I really like the idea of just kind of like doing custom designs, kind of like the way the movie suits are done. Just in such a way that, it has a bunch of cool like textures and all that. Yep, it's true. I mean, the suits in charge of comic book movies can be kind of like so transparent. It's funny, like the way they'll appeal to, like they have a male demographic appealed to because it's Wolverine or it's the X-Men. They know guys want to go and see that, and so they have to like include little things like Hugh Jackman, never having a shirt. Although that is also part of him being Wolverine, and I mean he has to take a bunch of steroids and work out all the time in order to look like that. So, just kidding. I don't know that. I won't. That's like character assault against Hugh Jackman. I don't know that he takes steroids. Although a lot of actors take human growth hormones in order to get really big and beefy for their movie roles, because it's not like the same as competing in like a sport. It doesn't matter as much. You just care about the end goal. It's kind of the same as like, so if you build a muscle suit, you build a muscle suit out of foam latex and rubber and spandex and all that stuff. Well, when you have an actor and you need to get him, muscly and stuff, you just give him human growth hormone and then train him with personal trainers for 6 months. Yeah, I'm sure. I said that without any knowing, but I'm sure that he's the type that doesn't. It's kind of. I mean, there's usually proof because the actors that take human growth hormone in order to get really big and beefy, they usually have a lot of back knee, which is acne on your back, which is something that happens when you take human growth hormone, and so it's kind of it's not hard to parse through Hollywood and see who does it and who doesn't. But I don't like follow that, so that's why I say I don't know about Hugh Jackman. But I mean, if I were an actor, I'd do it. I mean, why not? You get paid so much money to be an actor and be in those roles, and if it can improve that experience, if it can make the movie better, because you're like Henry Cavill. I mean, that dude is huge. I don't know about him. I mean, I don't know about any of them really. I don't follow that stuff, like I said. But I mean, geez, in the first Superman movie, it looks like uncomfortable. Like it looks like if he had to scratch his own back, he'd be like in a bind and he wouldn't be able to do it. Which to me is just like uncomfortable. It's like you'd have these like big, enormous. It's like not even a matter of strength at that point. You're just swollen. Ugh, this part's hard. Yeah, that's true. He's just a huge jacked man. Of course, Hugh Jackman doesn't take steroids. He's just a huge jacked man. That's funny. There we go. Come on, did I get it? Almost. Oh, there we go. Come on. Gotcha. There we go. Got it. Love it. It's fun. It's like a little game. Okay, there we go. Now I can progress onward. Ooh, okay. So, time to insert those guide rods, and then also these assemblies, wherever they are. There they are. These assemblies are what you can see right here, there's a little hinge for the belt. They go up and down on these poles, and that's what drives the height, and then the extruder moves back and forth between them. So now we are assembling that. Got two components here. This is on this side, and this one on this side. And so I'm just taking my shorter guide rods, because the longer ones are the ones that go back and forth. I want to lubricate that later because it feels sticky. Maybe that's the problem with my bottom bars. Maybe my bottom bars are just not at all lubricated enough. Oh, that's right. Well, I'll just put them in place first, and then I'll put the assembly in. So the assembly just slides in there, as such. You know what? That would make a lot more sense. Is that it's not that my bearings are all bad. It's that my guide bars they aren't lubricated. I think the last one they were pre-lubricated. If you think about sometimes you get pieces for like a car, and they're just already really oily. Maybe they like forgot or something because these just feel like steel bars. So that could be a big part of it, is that they just need to be lubricated. Because that would make more sense than all of the bearings I got being bad. Because that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. All right, see, and now you can see that this piece is what hits this switch, and that's what keeps it from going down too far. It's funny. Lego Cool Man asked, "What I miss?" And CIK said a discussion of growth hormone and cosplays. That's funny. Yeah, nothing too major. Just been installing and building this printer. I think that's so funny. You guys just kind of come and go. Like basically, it's just like kind of a little group of people that go and hang out with on a whim. Okay. That all looks good. And then it looks like it wants me to put the caps on. So basically these exact same caps that I put on the front, I will be putting on the top. Like so. And so. M318. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, it is. It's so helpful having a finished printer to look at whenever I need to. I don't even need to question anything really. Because it took me a long time finishing that first one, just looking through stuff on the internet to make sure that certain things that were kind of confusing were right. But now I've already done that. Chan. Yeah, because I know that people have been doing that for a long time. The vinyl, the perforated vinyl. I've honestly never used it. I've never bought any or used it. It's funny because it kind of goes back into the conversation of like the rubber chest, the silicone chest spider. One good thing about the fact that someone who knows more, well, for instance, the fact that it did happen, that someone was like, well, you can just buy perforated vinyl. And that kind of solves the issue of the ASM2 mesh, for inside of the lens. But the thing about that is I don't think that you can it's strong enough to do what I do to make the mesh fog-free lenses. So my mesh has the ability that it's plastic and it's a little thicker. I'd love to figure out a way to make it more available. Like I could even potentially talk to a like manufacturing place and actually just have that kind of mesh, similar mesh manufactured. But my mesh, the method I developed for my mesh allowed me to do the mesh free one where it has strength and it keeps its form when it's heated, so you can form it into the shape of a lens a lot like I don't know what I was referencing there, but you can just form it, heat form it and take on the shape of a lens. And yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like, it was neat that I came about that solution, because if I'd settled with the perforated vinyl, I'm not sure that I would have come up with that. And I know that there's a lot of fog-free lenses out there too. That's something I started talking about a year ago right now, in like April last year. And then I started to see it pop up around the summer from other makers. So I'm not totally sure what the process was. Like, it's possible someone else had the same idea for a fog-free mesh lens at the same time, but I'm guessing it probably just kind of went through the chain. Like I mentioned it on, I think, my Patreon that I was going to do mesh lenses, and I think I also showed it to people. And the awesome thing about that is you don't have fog. You never have fog, and you have great visibility. And it's not easy to see inside of it. So those lenses are pretty cool. So I talked about it on Patreon. So I figure someone must have seen it on Patreon and then gone off to another builder and requested something similar. Really quick, Spider-Man, you just said, did you get that email I sent you? Did you get that thing I sent you? I will say I'm notoriously bad at answering emails. So if I don't answer your message, a lot of times what'll happen is I see a message from someone and I think I respond to it, and then it isn't until they're asking, like right now, that you're asking if I've seen it, that I realize, oh, no, I didn't respond to that. So it can be kind of a good idea to just kind of badger me a little bit. It's not fun that I have to say that, but you kind of have to badger me a little bit, and if I don't respond to your message like right away, there's a good chance that what I just explained happened, and I thought I responded, or I might not have seen it at all. So there's nothing wrong with just in a couple days after the fact being like, hey, just curious if you saw my email. I always am impressed with that, because it's like, hey, that's a nice way to kind of remind me, because I did forget, and it just kind of allows me to pick up and respond to you. And then the more that happens, like even if it even happens again, if you keep doing it, I'll eventually get back to you. I'm never maliciously ignoring anyone. It's just always a kind of a component of my scatterbrain. Makes me me. Okay, so moving on here. Got those guys in. Got those caps on. So it looks like what do you want me to do here? See, these instructions are just so bare bone. Okay, I see some components here. Oh, it's just further based on what I was just doing. Okay, so now it's time to install these threaded stepper rods, whatever they're called. Let's see. Lead screw. Is that right? Lead screw? Yeah, T lead screw. So that's what the manual is saying this thing is called. So you basically just stick it through that hole in the top, and then you get it started in this threaded component of this stepper part. Gosh, I wonder if this is also something that hasn't been lubricated very well. I'm just speculating there. I don't know for sure. I don't want to say. That one just fell right in like it kind of was supposed to. Yeah, that was nice. So they just go into these silver little housings here. It just fits in there, and then a little hex nut just goes in there, or hex bolt, and just tightens it and clamps it down. That one already has its in there. I hope it's not missing one. Oh well. There's Will. Oh, he already walked by. All right. Spider-Man, capitals never matter in an email. You could do an email totally capital or not, and it'll be the same either way. All that matters is its symbols, and sometimes there are underscores and things in emails. But yeah, my email is just madebyMcLean at gmail.com. I need to add a link to that in my description from here on out. Always be nice for you guys to be able to contact me. Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that really quick. Made by McLean. That's my email. So at gmail.com. There you go. Oops. Oh, no, it's fine. If I was worried about distractions, I wouldn't be doing this live. I've said it before, but I love the format of these live shows so much. I've just made so much content over the last few weeks compared to my entire time on YouTube so far. And I've kind of been withholding some of my better tutorials because I'm still learning. There's still a lot of, like, my last stream, kind of failed. We had technical issues and I had to just stop. So that happens. But I'm excited to, really soon. I keep saying that, but soon I'm going to get into the meat, like some of the better parts of designing these suits. Like I've already done a lot of stuff with like Photoshop and designing patterns and stuff like that. But I'm just excited to keep going with that. Make it really good. A lot of content, a lot of stuff to learn from for someone who can just kind of find my stream years down the line and go through all of the episodes for information they need. Yeah, I agree. Matt said that it definitely feels like I'm more accessible. Yeah, I definitely agree because I've never, I'm not the biggest, communicator, to say the least. That's a little bit of an understatement. Communication and that kind of stuff is always my like one of the biggest things I struggle with in my life. And so, that's always kind of been a problem for me. And this is nice because I get to kind of just be in my element and work on stuff. And then you guys can kind of approach me and talk to me, which is kind of how it seems to work best for me. Cool. Yeah. So now that I've got these in here, what am I supposed to do with them? Oh, all right. So now it's time to actually put the guide rods in between the two of them. So I'm going to spin this. Yeah, I can definitely see how having there's a 3D printable component up here, because you can see that this screw is just loose up here. It can shake around. And that's it is in this, it's also in this solid one, but that's pretty shaky. So you can 3D print a component that holds that a little more in place. And once you've gotten everything all like even and level, the machine's great at just, it rotates these two stepper motors perfectly. So it's always raising and lowering them at the exact same rate. Oh, wow. That's a lot easier than it was the first time. So the first time I assembled one of these, hopefully you'll be able to see the detail over here. You see the component that I'm putting in right here, it's 3D printed itself, which I thought was pretty neat and surprising, was that the 3D printer itself shipped with 3D printed components for itself. But part of what that meant was what I just did right here. I basically just easily slid this guide rod through. I had to hammer that in with a mallet last time. That might still be the case because I don't know what else would keep it really sturdy and still, but or really, well locked down. I'm guessing I missed a component right here. I'm guessing something bolts in and connects right there, but there was nothing like that on that other side or on that other printer. So I really don't know. I might still need to mallet. Yep. You still kind of need a rubber mallet, and you knock it into place, and that just makes it really sturdy. Oh, shoot. Glad I realized before I did that, though. You have to put the bearings on, obviously. The component that slides back and forth. Oh, that's fun. There we go. All right, so I'll grab this other guide rod as well. There we go. That's the resistance I remembered from the first time I put this together. Yeah, they're the same. Yep. Ooh, take that, phone. Looks like maybe there's a little bit of stuff in the hole, keeping it from going through. Oh, Spider-Man's got to go again. Thanks for tuning in again. It's always fun hanging out with you guys, because you're super interested in all this stuff, which is fun, because I'm interested in it too. It's just fun. It's kind of like real world Minecraft. Like, how do you make things with other things? It's just such a infinitely entertaining aspect of the world. There we go. Felt like it gave a little bit. Yeah, I'm probably just going to need to hammer it with a mallet to get it to go in there and start. So I'll go grab my mallet. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're 3D printing your Pip-Boy, right? CAK? That's pretty neat. Be a cool way to do that. Pip-Boy is like a perfect project for 3D printing because it's kind of a smaller scale, higher detail thing. Okay, mount. The ice cream truck is outside. Although in California, the ice cream truck is always outside. Always. And it sells ice cream, and it sells burritos, and it sells energy drinks, and it sells... It's a little driving 7-Eleven. Okay, so I've got to be careful here. I don't want to just like go crazy smacking this thing and damage and dent it. Sometimes you just have to give it a little... I'd really hate for that to... I'm going to move it down. That's what I'll do. I'd hate for that to bend my guide rod. But you've got to do what you have to do. I might even have to take this off and do this separately on the ground, because this is pretty sketchy. But you have to do it sometimes. I would think, since this is an actual injection molded cast piece, that it would be a little less difficult than this. Yeah, I don't even really get why that's happening. Need to like drill it out. Well, that's a little annoying, but I'd rather be a little annoyed than have a broken printer. I'll just take this whole thing off. Things like this are what made my first printer take a long time to put together. And I mean, this one's actually taken a while too, because I've been doing the entire thing on the stream so far. And I think I might even have to do a part 3 after this, because there's so much to do on these printers to build it. But it's not that hard, it's just that there is a lot of it. Okay. So now that this is out, I'll just take that out too, why not? Now I can hammer this a little easier and not be concerned about it damaging other components. There we go. Got to the end. Yeah, and you can see all kinds of plastic curling up, so it just was kind of too full of plastic, which is probably, if I had to guess, they do that slightly on purpose so that it holds it really tightly. You want everything on your printer to be really solid. But this is pretty ridiculously solid. I mean, I'm going to have a hard time getting this thing off if I need to. I better remember which way this goes. So, okay, yeah, so I'm hammering it on like that. That's crazy. The tolerance seems too tight. It's going to be hard to do. I mean, I'm not going to be able to... Sorry, guys. I know that's shaking my phone. Okay. That's tough. I mean, I'm going to have to actually hammer that into this other side too, I'm sure. So it's going to take some hammering to get that thing together. Cool. That's neat. Chris Moore's doing the Skill USA technical drafting competition. So we should all wish him luck with that. That's cool. Cool that you can stop in before you do that while you're out of town, or I don't know if you're out of town, but away from home. Okay. I might have accidentally hammered it a little too far. See, I don't like that it doesn't slide. That's annoying. Don't want to be too reckless with that. Ah, there we go. Now I'm able to like push it back and forth a little bit at least. Or that direction, I guess. There we go. All right, I think I've left enough that time. Okay, so this is the bottom guide rod, and this is the top guide rod. And then I'll be slipping on more bearings onto those bars in a moment, once I get it back onto its assembly here. Okay. Oh, that's right. Almost back to where I was. That's great. Almost to where I was. Oh, wow. 6:30. That's crazy. Time flies when you're getting stuff done. Okay. Bearing number 1. Or I guess at this point it's bearing number 5. Goes on like that. Once again, I'm just going to give it a good all over dousing in silicone lubrication. Oh, come on, slide. Well, I could have done some WD-40 on the rod. I'll just have to probably hammer it in place, which will be terrifying, but whatever. Oh, there it is. So what I'll do, move this further down so that it's not pounding so high up. because I'm also going to have to do that to the other side, basically. Oh, darn, I have to go higher. All right, hammer time. This sounds even more terrifying when it's up on my big wood table here that already is shaky and rickety. So this whole process is pretty fun. Okay, it's moving. I got it to move a little bit. Ugh, hate it. Okay, pretty close here. About to dock. It's like a space station docking here. Wish it would just squeeze at this point. Slide. That would be convenient. There we go. Darn it, I have to hammer. That hurt. Putting this little bolt back in place first. Okay, there we go. It's in a little bit. Oh, but I'm off on the level by quite a bit. It's actually good to like get a level at this point. Just make sure. Sure hope I got everything on there. Yeah, it's just one. It's just one caster. Kind of a not a point of no return, but certainly would be difficult to go back at this point. Oh yeah, that nice new printer you just bought? Get ready to smack it with a hammer. Oh, this whole thing is pretty annoying. I hope I didn't just like do something wrong and wreck it.
Okay, I'm gonna get my level, wherever that is. I haven't seen that in a while. Where is my level? Might be out in the garage, I guess. Oh, yeah, I'll go look at that in a second. Get the top one in here for a little added stability. Probably should have done that to begin with. So my phone might die soon, which might be the end of the stream, because I've been unplugging it and plugging it. I just got a message about that on my phone, so just to let you know. And I probably won't be going for too much longer, because I do need to eat and stuff. Although I might still be coming on later tonight with a Vive stream, so kind of a different, more like fun, hanging out, playing video games. And if you like Rick and Morty, I have the new Rick and Morty VR game. I played through it, and it's pretty funny if you like Rick and Morty. So I'll probably, well, maybe, potentially, kind of depends on what the plans are for tonight, but I might be breaking that out and doing a little bit of live streaming of the Vive, which is a lot of fun. I've only done it once so far, but I had a lot of fun that one time. Okay, it's kind of being resistant here, and I wonder if it's not because of that hammering. I don't like the idea of that. Just being so resistant. Okay, yeah, so you see these spin independently. Right now, I'm getting a lot of resistance from this one over here. I'm really just hoping it's not from when I smacked it with smacking it with a hammer, that I didn't like bend it over or something stupid. But I mean, it tells you to hit it with a hammer, so. Oh man, it can rotate, but it just is taking so much torque to do so. There we go. That feels a little bit better once it gets away from the bottom. But that's probably not the best thing. Will's back. Say hello to Will. As soon as he comes around. There he is.
I'm gonna make soup.
Will's gonna make soup. That'll be on Will's live stream. Just kidding. Will doesn't have a soup live stream.
Soup good.
Souping it with Will. So,
3D printer.
pretty good. There's some weird things I've noticed. Like I've had some caster issues. This just sounds really scratchy. That's not that bad, but I'm thinking it's just because they didn't like lubricate these guide bars at all. I don't know. You kind of get what you pay for with a $200 3D printer. Okay. Yeah, I think I should probably actually use a regular hammer. A regular hammer might give a more direct little pop of a blow into that guide bar. I'll keep the mallet anyway.
CAK Comedy just said, totally on Will's soup stream, chicken noodle and French onion. It's funny.
You know it. Tonight's pho. Miso ramen soup. It's the latest craze.
Apparently it's faux. Oh, that worked about 10 times better. I might have been kind of a dummy to use the rubber mallet. No, it's still being really resistant. I know. It's irritating. But I mean, you want it to be solid, I guess. Okay, so that's operating pretty well now. Now that they're actually kind of hammered together. Because one thing is it never moves on this y-axis quickly. It always is a very slow, gradual spinning of these motors at the bottom. Okay, so I think that basically leaves us in a position. What is going on? Oh, that is so weird. Oh man, I hope I didn't mess it up. I might have messed it up when I did that stupid. Oh, you know what I'll do? Because it already, actually literally looks a little bent. That's great. I might be able to straighten it out. I might already have, actually.
Bent the metal rod?
This thing, the T-screw. I might have bent that. Oops. I mean, one thing I could do is I could always flip it around because I think the bend is kind of lower. And so then that would mean that the bend is kind of higher. Ah, shoot. I mean, we'll see based on its operation, but I mean, I'm getting a lot of resistance already. Maybe that's because of the lubrication thing again, though. It also could be because I'm just not level with the movements here. A lot of reasons. Spider-Man's just swinging in and out today. Leaving and coming back. Yeah, now it's time to start assembling the extruder. Basically, here it is. This is the extruder. This is just, if you think of a glue gun, what a glue gun does, it just gets the tip really, really hot, and then it melts the hot glue, and then you squeeze the melted hot glue out, and then it dries, or cools, I should say. This is basically exactly the same thing. It looks even like a glue gun a little bit. It's got the wires here that plug into the board that run everything, and that's how it controls, temperature and extrusion, because there's a little wheel inside of here that is what moves the filament. It kind of digs into the filament and rotates and pushes the filament towards the extruder head. That's cool. It's cool that you're working on your own projects, Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, so I think this is a pretty good spot. I'm pretty hungry, and now that Will is cooking food, I'll probably call it here. But like I said, I might be back in like an hour or two with a Vive stream, which would just be about Vive, and we'd probably be playing the Rick and Morty game, which would be a lot of fun. So this is kind of part 2, I guess, and I guess I could continue to do a part 3 maybe tomorrow because I need to get this done.